So I don't really know how to explain this, but I was going to make a Tumblr account because it's like your options for being able to like post things online are getting slimmer and slimmer in terms of what's like a good spot to do it, right? Twitter's gone to shit. I don't know why anyone would have used Snapchat or like Instagram. They're so useless for like posting things. And Tumblr itself is like the last free bastion. The only thing that's missing is like not safe for work stuff, which is like because they like wiped it, but it's like that like doesn't affect me, right? I don't have an OnlyFans, so it literally doesn't matter. But then when I was going to make an account, I found this. Listen to them. Look at this. This is amazing. I wish I found this on like Friday. This actually could have been like a Froggy Friday day. But you just press 1 to 8 and it plays it. It's like on the very home page of Tumblr. And I was like, this is a very weirdly topical thing. Because we just had Froggy Friday. Now, I got some interesting news to share as well. One, I've been reading some very concerning things about Crunchyroll, which I didn't know. Apparently Crunchyroll is a very terrible team, and the more I looked into it, the more I've seen other accounts of it as well from other like people in the industry. Basically, it seems like their entire team seems to just like suck at understanding like what their user base is, which is very strange to me. It seems like they should just know, you know, like how do you not know what your user base is? But one of the voice actors recently was like, hey, like we don't actually get like paid or anything. I mean, well, they barely do. And then on top of that, another voice actor came through, which is the one that I'm showing now. They didn't even get the ability to voice act in the new Tower of God game. If you don't know what Tower of God is, it is like, it feels like probably one of the more well-known Korean mangas out there. Like manhwas. It's like between that and like Breaker. I think of both the like two really well-known ones, right? But this, it's an amazing, it's a very, very interesting story. And for a game, it seems like it'd be pretty good, right? And they already have an anime with like voice actors and like stuff. And they have the manhwa, like they have everything going, right? Apparently Crunchyroll went around their contracts, basically lied and said, hey, like to the game studio, you're not allowed to hire the voice actors. Which to me is a bit insane. That's that seems like a legal minefield that I'm surprised they even bothered to try Crunchyroll. And it's crazy to me because it's just like, you know, once you like, it's not like the space is huge, right? It's not like the space for voice acting is very, very huge, right? There's very little wiggle room for you to fuck around and find out it, right? It's one of those spaces where it's like you can barely move an inch without bumping into some other major player who's going to overtake you the very next day. The very companies that make these shows, make these games, they can probably just do it themselves, especially nowadays with like all the stuff happening. I wouldn't be surprised to see Netflix just absolutely demolish Crunchyroll at some point and just take them over from exclusive rights, right? And so to see them sort of do this and try this in such a sort of like close-knit space in terms of like the people in the industry seems absurd to me. Because it's like, why would you do that? And then why would you absolutely let yourself get like posted online like this? Like you're gonna get demolished 100%. So it's fascinating to see because it feels like it's a long time coming, but I feel like Crunchyroll is eventually gonna like die very, very soon. Which is, you know, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's like they clearly have no clue what they're doing. I don't think anybody on the team really understands what they're doing, which is insane to me. They really just seem to be down to like basically ruin everything, every bit of like, what? Why is this trending in Canada? What's wrong with you Canadians? What is this? I don't know. Train accidents? I don't want to see train accidents. What the? I don't want to see any of these. Okay. Again, this is also why Twitter sucks. But I'm very curious to see how this goes. because this is not like a small move, right? And it's like the industry is small enough to where like as a voice actor, you probably just need to take like the first role that you can get. It's like the early days of like game development, where like you just had to do anything that you could to like get into it, because it wasn't established yet, right? Voice acting still doesn't feel like a very established industry in terms of like the money flowing to it. Like more of the money is spent on like business executives than is on voice actors. So, but I think even then, even with that sort of advantage that Crunchyroll has, being a major player in a relatively small space, I don't think they're gonna survive for much longer if they keep doing this stuff, which is kind of insane, like actually insane to me, because it's like, how many times can you shoot yourself in the foot before it's too late, right? And the Tower of God game, I think it comes out like today or tomorrow, or it's already out now actually. Yeah, see, this game is actually very, very interesting. The Great Journey, here we go. And it's surprising to me that they would just kind of like do that for such a major IP, when, you know, it's gonna be really hard to cover up the fact that you did this, right? For a smaller IP, it'd be kind of hard, and I think most voice actors probably wouldn't do much to deal with it. But this is Tower of God we're like talking about. It's like one of the most well-known manhwas in like Korea, and then outside of Korea as well. It's like really, really well known, right? It's one of those that has sort of like become a global phenomenon, and so for them to do that with the people attached to that is absurd to me. It's also crazy because like this is probably like a very good test of the market to see like if these IPs can translate into other forms, right? So imagine you're like a Korean game dev studio who is doing one of the few like first ever adaptations of like a manhwa into a game, right? It's not like the first like Ragnarok Online, for instance, way back in the day, was actually based on a Korean manhwa. If you have no clue, it was based on the manhwa. But to now try it again and immediately get into the situation, I have a feeling a lot of people are gonna be like, well, that kind of puts a sour taste in our mouth. Why would we even bother, right? It just looks so bad overall. Like it's basically like a fledgling sort of like startup industry almost of like translating different IPs into games is probably going to like die overnight because of this. And you have Crunchyroll, who, I mean, I think they seriously like messed up hard, who, you know, is at the forefront of all this, and I don't know if they're going to survive either. I hope they don't, because it's crazy to me. Like, why would you ever do this to the people who have effectively built you into who you are? It's funny too, because if you don't know about Crunchyroll's past, a lot of people don't know this. Crunchyroll used to be a pirate site. Completely a pirate site. So you used to be able to go to Crunchyroll, watch anything and do anything, and it was really just there to aggregate other people's like stuff that they did the hard work of like, you know, translating and like subbing and like dubbing and stuff like that, right? Like, and like re-encoding and the stuff too, because like back then the whole scene was you had to go buy the actual DVDs from the actual stores to actually watch anime. But you'd have to like record it off of your TV, but watching it on a Japanese station. So you'd have entire teams doing it underground. Crunchyroll was just an aggregate site. Then they went official, and then they basically stole all of that work too. So it's funny to see it all sort of come full circle. The attitudes that prevail, that mercantilism, combined with that level of like greed and sort of like absurdity in believing that you're the only good solution, you can tell that they've never gotten out of that mindset of like, we are the best and we are the only ones who deserve anything good, and then everyone else can like F off, you know? Everyone else is a bones. Fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating case study. And I love seeing companies like this, because there's such interesting case studies of like how not to run a company. Because another thing that I've been checking up into is like backups for files, like file storage. Because I'm gonna be honest, these video files are getting huge, and but I also have a way to solve it. Like after the stream, I need to like re-encode things to make them smaller. And I realized one of the things that I was reading about was a Backblaze, like Google Drive versus Backblaze versus AWS, stuff like that. Where to store your files, effectively. Apparently, Backblaze is like top tier. Like they're so good because they don't really go for like only profits. They kind of try to go for like the bare minimum to like try to break even, which is an interesting model to me, but it works for them, right? Because again, profits are kind of like an incidental thing. Like it's not like the truth is it's not really the goal of a company to be profitable. Like it's the goal of shareholders in a public company to force profitability because they only make money off of profits. Like shareholders only make money off of profits, and so it's in the board of directors' interest as well as shareholders' interest to push companies towards that. But Backblaze has said no, we'll stick to like the company values, which is providing affordable backup solutions that are tried, true, and tested, reliable, right? And again, they're how do I say this? They're promoted by many a great technologist and content creator, if that makes sense. Like a lot of people really rely on the service to make sure nothing gets like lost. And what they've effectively done is just said, hey, we're gonna run the business to be break even. Like we only care about covering our like costs. Anything extra is like cream. It's like extra money. That's it. And that to me is a much more sustainable solution. Like it's wild to me to see them still be alive after like I think 20 years. I think. Let me just double check that. Yes, 16 years. Okay, it's a 16-year-old company that only does backup, right? They're still alive. Compared to, like, I don't know, like Dropbox. I mean, even Dropbox's pricing is also, like, crazy expensive. But Dropbox. Well, actually, no. Dropbox came out 2 years after. So it's not that bad. Well, actually, no. Well, 1 year after. Wait, so Dropbox is like, 15 years. That's actually insane. What's a better example? Oh, shoot. I forget what it was. It was like Cloud Cap or Cloudstone or something. It was like a really old backup solution, and then it like died. They recommended Carbonite, and it's like fascinating to me because it's like, yeah, like that's what keeps people on your service is like the understanding that the service will not ruin you. Like they won't absolutely demolish you. If you just happen to sort of step out of line, or if you or even if you do nothing wrong, like in the case of Crunchyroll. They won't absolutely ruin your career just by existing. Like they have a reliable service, a good business, and then you can see from the very top down that their business practices have always been about honesty and integrity, right? And again, it's a very top down attitude. I guarantee you, there is no executive other than the CEO, like Crunchyroll, who has that level of pull to be like, yeah, no. I guarantee you. There's nobody there that has that. At best, maybe the legal team, because legal teams tend to work very closely with executives, in particular the head of the company. But even then, the legal team is really just the arm of the brain that is the CEO. So it's fascinating to me. It's just fascinating, fascinating case studies on how to run a business into the ground. Anyways, that's enough about running businesses into the ground. You may notice my voice is a bit off today. It's pretty off. Frog Detective took a lot out of me yesterday, so we're not gonna play any more talking games today. We're gonna let the game talk for us instead. A lot of talking for us. We're gonna play some Days Gone. We're not gonna play for too long as well, because I have a date later with my wife. As soon as she's home from work, we're spending time together. So we're only gonna play for a couple hours. But I've been really looking forward to this game because I miss playing this game a lot. Just give me a moment to set it up and then we'll get started.